We're on separate sides of the world, so.
I know, right?
So tell me this story from the other day.
Oh man, you don't want to know.
No?
I don't want to get into the details, but it's one of those things where I've sacrificed a whole lot to lift somebody up. And the one time I say I'm not going to do something, they decide I'm the worst person in the world. I've let them down. And this is somebody I've basically shoveled shit for to kind of help them come up and help them through really hard times, help them through times when they begged and said they really had nothing. And I was the only person that could come through, and I did. Um, so it just, so it's a family matter, and it just kind of escalated from there. And like my thing, I found that to be like narcissistic behavior, and it was all too familiar because I know where it comes from. It comes from someone that I personally know. I don't want to get into too much detail.
I understand. Yeah.
But if you are, let's say, for example, you are your mother's son, right? Your mother's a narcissist, a very, very, very strong narcissist, or your dad or whoever. So it's like one of those things that it comes from, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
realize, like, oh, I thought this person was cut from a different cloth. And then it turns out it's all the same. So I was like, okay, well, that's that. And it just like, it's because also I was relying on the person to do some work for me. But then what I didn't realize is they felt indispensable, and they were they were talking like, you need me and things like that. And I was just like, man, I'm doing this not because I need you, but to give you opportunity because you're closer to me and I want the best for you. So, on to better things. Thank you very much for having me here, man. I really appreciate. Let's keep the good vibes going.
All right, man. Well,
But
uh,
you're free to speak your mind on this situation.
I think that it's crazy how people can get full of themselves when they're given an opportunity and how they can kind of abuse it once it's set in stone more and
Correct.
it's a fresh thing. People can abuse it and they can take advantage of you or attempt
Very
to
true.
at least. And then you get into a sticky situation that you don't really want to be in. So,
Yeah, no, you're right. You're totally right. Yeah, so yeah, that's that, man.
yeah.
Tell
Well,
me about you, man. How did we end up here?
so I am a content creator, part of the Guy Socials. Here's our little logo here. And we post
Yeah.
comedy content across every platform that you've heard of. And so once we started getting some size and I started getting some more time because I quit my 9 to 5, I decided I wanted to start doing a podcast interview type thing and just talk to
Mhm.
interesting people and just chat with them, find out some things about the world and stuff. So I started reaching out on Instagram at first, and then I was like, well, might as well reach out on X as well, and just started scavenging around and finding people. And I was like, well, this guy's pretty cool. I'll talk to him. So here we are.
That's nice. That's nice. And what were you doing for your 9 to 5?
I was working in a warehouse making fine leather goods for men.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And how long were you doing that for?
I did that for a little over 2 years. And then we were finally
Brilliant.
making good enough money where I could quit and do content creation full time.
And how old are you? 24?
I'm 20.
20. Nice. Nice. Wow. I wish I was that young again.
So how'd you get into music?
Man, I think in as far as music goes, it's very much in a way kind of like a family thing, because narcissism can be as well. I'm one of those people, if you cross me wrong, I just find it so hard to let it go. I'll keep applying pressure. But nah, so coming back to your question, really, I think that I was born into music in a way, because my mom used to sing in the church. She's not very, you know, well known for that, but she still does. She's a big participant of the church, Pentecostal church. And my mom always, always loved singing, and she can actually sing. I think that my mother's got perfect pitch, actually. My friends say I've got perfect pitch, but I don't know. I know that I definitely feel out of place and I feel like a wire has been cut from my brain when I hear something off tune, it just drives me insane, man. I can't listen. I have to turn it off. Um, and also, my dad, my biological father, he didn't raise me, but I came to find out that he always loved playing the guitar. So, in a way, I kind of, there's that musical, DNA in me. But I feel like in my whole family, I'm the one person that was like, okay, I want to take it to the next level.
Mm.
And yeah, that's and the first time I ever really, really sort of like started making my own music was I was in my mom's kitchen waiting because I was raised by a single mother for a great period of time until my stepdad came into the picture, or rather stepped into the picture. Yeah, so stepdad literally stepped into the picture, but before that, I was in the kitchen waiting for my mom to make me a snack and something started playing on the radio, and it was Grandmaster Flash, The Message. And I was like this 10-year-old kid, and I was like, what is this? Because originally, I know that I loved, till this day, I still remember, I loved rhyming in nursery. And I know a lot of people don't remember, much about nursery, but I remember that I loved nursery rhymes more than anything. So it was kind of like a almost like an auto transition coming from loving nursery rhymes to loving rhythm and poetry rap rhymes. And so when I heard Grandmaster Flash, The Message, I was like, whoa, what is this? I really like the rhyming. I love the story. And I was just totally fascinated by it. And then I started basically stealing my mom's cassettes, and I would erase them and record as many rap songs as I could find on the radio. Because at this time now, it's like this new trend, and everybody's listening to it, and I'm like really just loving it for the rhymes, and that's how I got into music. And I started standing by my bedroom window, trying to write rhymes and just like try again, try again. I'd have like stacks of paper on the floor. When you see people do that, like in a movie, you think, yeah, they're just doing it for the dramatic effect. But I was that kid that would always, and I used to love drawing as well. So if I wasn't writing rhymes, I would be, I was being fathered by Stan Lee, Marvel comic books. My favorite being the Hulk. In fact, I think I've come to believe that I am Bruce Banner.
Wow.
So that green in there is really appealing to me. But yeah, nah, man. So I would, and I think that as far as my English goes, I learned a lot from reading comic books, Spider-Man, Hulk, Avengers, um, Iron Fist, and just like yeah. And yeah, that's how my and this was all in Africa, Lusaka, Zambia, to be precise. I was born in Zambia, a city called Lusaka, and that's where it all started. And later on, I got together with my friends. I'm trying to cut this short. Later on, I got together with my friends, and we started talking about how rap was this like new thing that we were fascinated with. And one of my my best friends, my childhood friends, cousins, Paul, my childhood friend being Humphrey, had a cousin called Paul, and Paul had just flown into Zambia from Germany. Those days we didn't have the internet, we didn't have, means of getting like the hot trends from the West, like as they happen.
Mm.
You had to wait sometimes weeks or months before what was hitting in the US would start hitting in Africa. So yeah, Paul came Paul's dad, I think, worked in the diplomatic corps, and they were serving in Germany, and then he flew back to Zambia, back home, and Paul had all this new music and new gadgets, and the only thing that Humphrey and I were interested in was that new Run DMC tape. And we started listening to that, and we started, I'm the king of rock. There is none higher, like just that was like the most recited verse in primary school. And then my friends and I would start rapping to the class. Humphrey and I especially started rapping to the class while like sometimes the teacher would just leave the class and we would start rapping and our peers would start clapping like fascinated, like, wow, we're doing this new hot thing and we're like one of the few kids that are actually doing it because everybody else is still catching up to it. And yeah, sometimes we got into trouble because the class would get, would that would stir a lot of noise, people cheering and clapping, and the teacher would hear it. Then and back then they allowed corporal punishment, so I'd take Humphrey and I would take some whippings to the butt
Mm.
for, yeah, inciting a riot in class. Yeah, we were the original January 6th. No, 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 but not to get political. And I don't actually think that January 6th was Donald Trump's fault because I actually followed that. I followed his tweets. I was very, very sort of just like really, really zoning into what was happening in America just because of how much influence America has on the rest of the world, especially Australia. So I was just following those US politics. I know I'm going off a tangent, and I just think that people just wanted to put him down because he's a bit of an outsider in a game that they think that they own. That's just my opinion. Yeah, but yeah, not to get political, but that's how I started rapping, man. And yeah, as they say, the rest was history. We started record. Actually, the one important piece of information. Let me show you something.
All right.
I bought this because of my childhood. It,
Nice.
yeah, it's a cassette player. And the reason why I bought this is because it's exactly the same as the one my friends and I used to use to record our music. So
Mm.
it's a double deck. You put a blank cassette in one, then you put the tape with the instrumental in the other, and then you plug the mic in, and while it's dubbing, you put your vocals over, and that's how we made our
Mm.
demos. And our friends would be like, "Oh, can I listen to this? Can I?" And they'll borrow the tapes and not return them. I wish I had them. But yeah, that's and then before I knew it, we started doing variety shows at school, being invited to perform, in public. We would walk out of class, and before we left the school gates, right at the school gates, maybe 4 meters from the school gates, would get surrounded by a bunch of kids. Humphrey would be beatboxing. No, actually, I was beatboxing and Humphrey would rap. I was taught how to beatbox by a guy called Cello. I didn't even know about beatbox. I knew about the Fat Boys, but I didn't really think that beatboxing was real until someone taught me how to do it. I just used to think people would fake it. But yeah,
Mm.
that's basically it. Long story, but that's it. Yeah. And I've had to really cut it short.
Yeah, I get what you mean by cutting it short. Like it seems like a long story, but there's so many little details you got to leave out to just get to the key points and stuff. I want to go back to something that you said towards the beginning though about when you listen to music, if anything is off key, you have to just
Hmm.
turn it off, you have to stop. And I that obsession where you can just sense or you can pick up on things that other people can't pick up on. I love that because I'm the same way when it comes to content. I'll be watching content and I'm like, that is so fake. That's so no, don't like it. Nope, they recorded that wrong. Don't like it. Nope, wrong, wrong.
I feel you.
So I love that obsession with it and starting at such a young age like you did of just the obsession of music. That's
No,
that's
thank you.
an awesome story, man. I love that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think it's cool that you bought one of those cassette players now, having that. So, and with beatboxing, that is a skill and a half. That is an impressive skill to have because,
Something like that. I think I used to beatbox better, but now it's not really what I do.
right.
Yeah, but I can still I'd like to think that I can still do it.
Yeah. It would come back to you as soon as you started, I'm sure. I know every time I hear it in a video, I'm like, that's not fake. Like, how's that? How are they doing that?
Now, some people are next level. Dougie Fresh is still really good. From the 80s till now, he can
Mm.
still beatbox like crazy.
So tell me a bit about Australia now. When did you move there?
So I moved to Australia in 2012.
Oh, so you've been there a
Um,
while.
yeah, it was one of those situations where number one, I was living in England, and then when I went to Zambia from England, I actually just went to Zambia because the weather in England was just
Mm,
so gloomy. It was cold. It was making me feel depressed. So I was like, nah, I'm gonna go home and visit my mother. And when I did, for 3 months, on my third month, as I was planning to just get some cake, get some money, do some work and have some pocket money because I'd spent all my savings over the 3 months of being in Zambia. There was things that needed to be sorted out at home. Family needed some help here and there. So like, yeah, my pockets ran dry. But one of the clients that reached out to me was happened to be an Australian lady, and she needed some help because I can also do media, and I actually actively sometimes do media consultancy. And yeah, got to meet her and we got along and I was like, "Oh, I'm heading off to England soon and I'm just trying to raise some funds so I don't get to England with no money. I just want to have some pocket money so when I get back to work, at least I just have that little bit of, to carry me through."
right.
And yeah, we actually got along pretty well. And then she was like, "Why don't you detour, dude? Why don't you come to Perth?" And I was like, "Huh? What? I've like left stuff in England. I'm only here on holiday. Like I've got my computer, a bunch of my clothes. It's a whole lot of stuff that I've left." And she was like, "No, no, no. You love Australia, A, B, C, D." And then detour ended up here.
That's crazy. How you liking it?
It's great, especially like in as far as, just I understand people have their gripes with their governments, but I also kind of feel like there are some governments that are making, even if it was minimal effort, you can see that they're really trying to, do the best that they can for the people. And that's not to speak about the past or present. I'm just saying generally the way Australia is being governed, it's not perfect. Just it's politics, man. It's not
Right.
perfect. Politics is made by humans, and humans are not perfect. So you
For
always
sure.
have, you know, people that don't agree and things that you don't agree with, and maybe tax issues that you don't agree with, politics that you don't agree with. But, the most important thing is they work to keep the country peaceful. They work to try to keep people healthy as much as possible. The mortality rate is pretty high here as well. It's a great place to raise a family. I don't know if I said that already. I probably did. Yeah, and that's that. The only thing I think that I didn't like about moving to Australia is going from, I don't know if you understand this, but imagine that you're very well known and things are looking up and up where you're at, and then suddenly you come to a new place and nobody's really listening to you when you tell them about your capabilities or what you can bring to the table. No matter how many credentials you have, I the only thing I've heard about this place is I would like to believe that it's not true, but I've seen it when I've seen it happen. You'll find a select few that have something that they call the tall poppy syndrome. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
I have not.
It's one of those where you know what a poppy is, the flower.
Yeah.
It's a little red flower. Yeah, so the tall poppy syndrome is like basically this is this is the tall poppy, and these are the short ones. And the short ones hate the guy that's on top and they want to pull
Mm,
him down so they can rise and look like the stars. So that's very common around here. Like you could share an idea with somebody and say, "Hey, I want to work together." And they'll tell you they don't want to work with you. And next thing you see, they're doing the same exact thing that you're doing, trying to set up a podcast. And this people can be so rude, they'll take your whole idea as well. You know what I mean?
A lot of snakery.
Sorry?
A lot of snakery is what you're saying, essentially.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
plagiarism as well. Yeah, 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 yeah. But I think that eventually you learn how to move in
Yeah.
the grass. You know what I mean? If there's
Mm.
snakes, you got to learn how to move in the grass. So eventually you start to see it just, and also you got to cut people off that don't serve, that don't serve you right, or that don't have the mutual respect. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
respect is a great foundation for great relationships. So don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good people here. There's a lot of good people here. And more credit to the Australian government. I just got a grant by the Department of Arts to tour Southern Africa.
Oh,
So, and that's been made possible by the Australian government. So I'd like to take this opportunity, whether they'll see it or not, to say thank you very much because, as an artist, I think even you, Hayden, you want to know that there's people that acknowledge your work and what you're doing and they want to further it and they believe in you. And I think as creators, we just want to know that there's somebody out there that believes in us.
yeah. Tell me a bit about that. Tell me more about that.
So I got an invitation to perform in a country called Malawi. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Sounds vaguely familiar. Yeah.
Okay, so it's actually a neighboring country to my country. So my country map kind of looks like this. It looks like a woman's head on this side. If you look at Zambia, if you just Google Zambia right now and you look at the map, you'll see it's got a nose and it's got like a head. And where the nose is, the border, the country bordering that is Malawi.
Okay. I see that.
You see that? Does that look like a head with a nose?
It kind of does. Yeah.
Yeah, so where the nose is, that's where Malawi is. So that's the country I've been invited to perform at probably arguably the biggest sort of like beach party music festival and arts event in Southern Africa or South Central Africa, whatever you want to call it. And basically, in as far as the Australian government goes, you have to have a credible backstory, a credible reputation, credentials to show that you are who you say you are, and that you can prove from your past work that you've shown some element of consistency with your art.
Mm.
And if they feel that you're the right person, then they'll support you and help you get by. It's not like you're being handed free money. You have to account for it and
Right.
come back with results. And one of the things that I'm doing is basically I'm shooting a documentary.
Oh,
Basically, let's just say I'm documenting the whole trip as well, and also because that gives us something substantial that we can show and say, hey, look what we came up with. This is what we did, and give them a bang for their buck.
yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
yeah,
a that's an awesome opportunity, man. That's really cool.
it is. It is. Yeah, it's the first time in my whole life, my whole career, that I've actually been given a grant to, support my music.
That's awesome, man. I hope it goes extremely smoothly for you and everything goes exactly how you'd like it to go or better.
Thanks, Hayden. Thank you very much. Thank you.
My last question for you before I let you go
Mhm.
is what's your one piece of advice you would give to somebody that's going to start pursuing their passion or their dream?
I've heard a lot of people say this, and you don't know the depth of it until you're deep in it. You can't give up on yourself. There's a lot of people that are, my dog's sitting next to me, and it's actually listening for some reason to this interview. Anyway, yeah, like I was saying, man, you don't know the depth of this piece of advice until you're deep in in your career and you actually realize that it's really what works for you. It's not about what other people want for you. It's really about you and what you're pursuing. And you can't give up on your dreams. Like if you believe in your podcast, man, I can imagine that in a few months or so, maybe even before next year, your whole setup will be looking pimped out. You know what I mean? Because this is the path that you've chosen. And the only growth that you can have once you pursue your path is improvement, improvement after improvement, improvement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also quitting is the easiest thing to do. It's really easy to quit, but climbing up is a big job. So I would say, yeah, it's okay to take breaks, but don't give up on yourself. And you can't listen to naysayers. It's like me. Imagine if, well, I've got kids, but imagine if I didn't have kids or I wasn't married and I start giving you marriage advice or advice about children.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what you find a lot with people. People will tell you what you should do about, having children, having family, getting married. And sometimes the people that are telling you to do that, they've never had kids before. They've never been married before. They don't know anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
They don't really know what they're talking about. So don't take advice because you're answering that question has a lot of layers to it. You can't take advice from people that have never done it
Right.
and expect that that'll lead you to the right direction. Don't quit on yourself and don't take advice from people that have never actually done it. If you're going to take advice from people, learn from experience, you know. Don't take advice about having children from someone that's never had children. It's yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of the quote, don't take advice from someone with a $25,000 salary when you have $1 million dream. It's like, there you go. Because they haven't done it. They don't know what it's like to do it. They haven't went through the trenches of it. Listen to someone that's a millionaire if you want to be a millionaire. Listen to someone that's super fit if you want to get in shape. It's like you go into the gym. And I don't know if it's like that in Australia at all, but in America, there's gyms you go into where the personal trainers are the scrawniest guys. They're all small or they're out of shape. And you're like, well, what are you going to tell me?
Bro, when I saw your Under Armour, I was like, he's a gym guy. And I was like, I'm not going to talk about that because he might just be wearing that t-shirt. But now that explains I was right in the first place. Now you're totally right. You're totally, totally right. And also, like I've also seen like some sports teachers and coaches, they're like overweight
Yeah. Hmm.
and teaching kids about fitness. Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? I'm not saying that they don't deserve a job, but if you're going to my personal approach to being an athletic coach is that I have to be athletic myself.
Correct. Yeah.
It's not just like a payday. It doesn't work like that. For me, if I'm going to give you any musical advice, I will have records, I will have awards, I will have things to show you that, okay, this is what I did. So, yeah, no, totally right.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, have you ever seen the health minister of the United States? Have you seen what they look like? Or of Belgium?
No, no.
I think the UK.
Who is it Fauci?
No, he's what is he? I don't know what he does.
No, I think I said that deliberately just to be controversial.
Uh,
I know he's not.
no, if you look up the health minister of the US, it's like, what do you know about health?
Are you kidding me?
Did you look it up?
American health minister. Oh, this podcast is gonna get banned before it starts. Rachel Levine.
Is it who I think it is?
Oh no, no way. And she's what? She's from Pennsylvania? I keep seeing Pennsylvania in the back of her. No way.
Yeah, it's like I don't know
It's
what
like
she
a
knows about
mockery,
health.
right?
I mean, maybe. Maybe that's what it is, hopefully. Maybe it's just a big joke they're playing on us or something.
Was that pun intended when you said big joke?
Maybe.
Nah, dude, listen. I totally agree with you. It's, you got to lead by example. And also like when it comes to health, I'm very specific with my diet and things like that. I'm not perfect,
Right.
but I try. I try. I try to eat consciously. I fast deliberately.
Nice.
Yesterday I actually fasted. And after the fast, I drank water this morning and I went to the gym.
Nice.
And then today I'm gonna eat.
I like that. Yeah,
Mm.
that is a whole nother conversation. Fasting is a superpower. That
It
thing,
is.
yeah.
Dude, I was
I've done a
yeah.
few small fasts before, and my dad he's a real big guy. He's in real good shape. He does real long fasts for 3, 4 days, and they're yeah, crazy benefits to those. So
No, it does. And I'll tell you what, so I felt like I had some sort of stomach bug a few days ago. And one of the things, I mean, I don't self-diagnose, but sometimes God's given us the resources and the ability. Like you got to know your body, right? You wake up in the morning and your stomach feels wrong. You just know something's off. And I don't really sort of like I try to refrain as much as possible from, pharmaceutical drugs and things
yeah,
like that. Not saying that they don't work, but I just don't know. I'm not specialized enough to know some of the after effects and things like that and, side effects. So I try to avoid it if I can because it's man-made as well.
right,
But when I totally need to see a doctor and the doctor recommends a medication, then I'll take it. And my doctor knows that I'm very strict with that. I'll do it if totally necessary, maybe an antibiotic or something, but I'm not just like everything, take a drug for it, not type, no, 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 no. I try to avoid that. I said that to say this. What was I trying to say? I think that the main point I was trying to drive to is just like to say a few days ago, I was feeling a bit funny in my stomach. And the one thing that I started with was a process of elimination. I had to check because, there are times when I just totally switch up and start eating something I don't always eat.
right.
Yeah, so I basically I had to play a process of elimination. I eliminated this, still. I eliminated this, still. And I was like, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fast.
Hmm.
And then I'm going to totally change my diet. And that's what I did. And then I wake up and everything's good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy the simple things of just, okay, well, I'm not going to eat. I'll just fast. It can just heal you, just fix you all up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and I like what you said about man made things. You try to avoid medicines for that reason. Like, yeah, they do work. There are some that are great, there's some that are questionable, but
Yep.
it's like, I think that God has given us everything we need down here on earth to do things. We
And
don't need to go into a laboratory and make up a crazy formula to heal something. It's like, yeah,
Hayden, I just think that we as human beings do not apply our natural gifts enough. And that means, and that goes from natural gifts as in our talent and also, well, not so much our talents, but maybe natural gifts as in natural resources that God has given us. I don't think that we use that enough. You know what I mean?
not anymore. That's for sure.
Like like food.
Hmm.
Food is high up there in like your best medicines.
Yeah.
Food, your diet is very much because this is what you're taking in. Garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
I get totally, and this is not and that's why I'm saying this podcast is gonna get banned
I
before
do
it
have to
even.
say really quick, and I apologize for this, but I have another meeting to be to very
Okay.
quickly. But I want to do a part two of this. Let's
Oh, good
schedule a
man.
part two to do in the next week, and we can continue where we're leaving off, and we'll get into it. We'll get into the nitty gritty of these things because I'm enjoying this conversation, and I apologize again for having to go in such a
No,
hurry.
no, 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 no. Just it's all good, man. Look, you'll cut out whatever you can, but I just wanted to say I really, really appreciate the opportunity.
Of
And
course.
if you hear of anything happening, maybe something a festival that you know about that I could come out to and do, I'd be more than happy to, see